Senior police officers have met with community leaders in the West Rand to discuss issues around illegal miners in that area. It follows violent clashes between zama-zamas and residents. Now they're blaming the illegal miners for rising crime levels. Nqobile Madlala has been on the ground in Kagiso the most of today, and now let me go back to her again. Nqobile, talk to us about where you are. I can see you. There seems to be a bit of destruction behind you, and you've got some other community members with you.
Well, yeah, Tony, so we are currently in West Village. Now, this is a community that has decided to do just like what Kagiso has been doing, go from one place to the next, just looking at the places that might potentially be illegal miners' houses. We've seen them burn it down. We've seen them burn the assets and burn some of the houses. And of course, we've also seen them burn some of the bush here. You'll remember they complained about the fact that the bush was the area that worked against them because these zama-zamas would sleep in these areas. But whilst they came to these mine dumps in this area, they found some of the evidence and some of the things that the zama-zamas clearly had supposedly stolen from some of the people in this area. And I'm going to bring in some of the community leaders, Nicoline, to speak to us about this. Nicoline, to find this must be concerning.
It's actually a very surreal moment for me, because this is where they dragged me. This is seeing where they could have killed me. It's, yeah. So we did find most IDs, bank cards, and some clothing, more especially undergarments for women.
Nicoline, I know this is an emotional moment for you, but if you could just share with us, I know it's hard, what happened? And to be here, what does it mean for you?
On the night of the 23rd October, my family and I were going out to go buy food. That's when they appeared out of nowhere. When I drove out of the driveway, they appeared out of nowhere, 20 plus of them. My husband was beaten to a pulp. Even when he was unconscious, they kept on hitting him with the back of a gun. They wanted to take my girls out of the car. When I fought that at least they shouldn't take my girls out of the car, they dragged me out of the car. My house is not far from here. And they dragged me all the way up to just when we were entering now the thick bush. My husband gained consciousness from where he was. My daughter said they tried to shoot at my husband, but they couldn't.
And what happened to you? A difficult time indeed there, Tony. Nicoline, you'll remember, is one of the women that has been in the forefront assisting this community. You can see there it's very difficult for her. It's been something that has affected her. It has affected the family. It's affected the community. This is not easy. Plenty of these community members have highlighted of these stories, how they have been affected by what has happened in this area, which clearly explains why they have decided to take the time, to take whatever they have to come into these areas to ensure that they can burn these bushes down. They've been asking the mayor, for example, to make sure that they cut these bushes down, that there is no place to hide for these illegal zama-zamas. So you can see there, this is how people are affected. Families have been affected. They continue to be affected. Nicoline being one of those people that have continued to fight for these struggles. She herself have had her fair share of what has happened to the community. We now see also the mayor has joined here, the community, to see what is happening here. We can see the mayor's there. We spoke to him a little earlier on. He said he was going to go to that meeting to find out what will be the plan going forward. So Tony, I'm going to try and get the mayor to just give us maybe an update in terms of how that meeting went. Mayor, we see you again. You have joined the community. What came out of your meeting today?
All right, so we had an engagement with the district commissioner. We have mobilized multiple resources. They are going to do a more coordinated effort. What we're doing is we're also partnering with the sister municipalities, because as we do operations in Nqobile City, for instance, we notice that it's putting pressure onto Beckersdorp, for instance. So we need to have a collaborative effect where we coordinate with, for instance, Rand West municipality as well as Nqobile City. So when we do operations, we're able to coordinate the efforts.
Now, we've just spoken to Nicoline. She's one of the community members here. She herself has been personally affected by what the illegal miners or the alleged illegal miners have done to families here. They've asked about things like simple things like cutting the bush down. She says this is the very area where she was dragged. What are you going to do about all these issues?
Yes, so as you can see, the topography here is very difficult to cut. We would need to use multiple outlay of multiple resources in order to cut all of these trees. Most of these trees have been here for over, I don't know, 15 to 20 years, judging by the size of them. So we will have to actually have a program of action with the community and then allocate resources. I think the best way to do it is to have A, some TLBs, heavy equipment, but then B, to take individual slashes and mobilize with many community members to walk through the area.
So are you going to be doing that door-to-door also with the community?
Yes, indeed we are. That is one of the smart intelligence operations that we're doing. They're also rolling it out in Rietfontein as well as Manziville, as well as West Village and other areas where zama-zamas have penetrated into the residential areas of the community.
So what are you doing here then?
Oh, we are just doing an oversight and ensuring that, because Police Minister Becky Cele is coming here at 10 o'clock tomorrow on the area there. So we're just securing the area and as well as setting up the marquee.
All right. Thank you very much, Mayor, for speaking to us. So, again, families here have been affected. Community leaders have gone through the most. Nicoline, I'm sorry about what has happened to you.
Yeah, it's just that it's all coming back, especially when I see a place that, for me, I was giving up trying to save my little girls, because when they dragged me out of the car, the first thing that I did was to think that if they get me, at least my children would be safe. And I'm talking about a 6-year-old and a 7-year-old that they were trying to drag out of the car, but luckily they still had their seatbelts on. I've never been here. Coming here today and to actually realizing that it has been since last year, October, that I had lived with this pain. I had went through counseling, I had seen a psychologist, but it's something that you learn to live with. It doesn't get out. And I hear when the minister says that that girl that was raped by one person should consider herself lucky. There's no luck in this, especially when you know that you see their rape, that they would do anything. They would see how this is, see how gravel it is. I've got marks. My left hands, my left body has marks because they were dragging me, and you can't forget it. It doesn't matter how many they are. You cannot forget it. And I tell you now, that girl is a walking corpse. 10 years down the line, this will still haunt her. It will still haunt her. It will change her perspective where relationships are concerned. She would want to move on, and most of the mechanism of women moving on from this, they turn into prostitution to deal with the pain, because already they're telling themselves that I am nothing. It leaves such a bad stigma.
I'm sorry, Nicoline. Thank you very much for speaking to us and for sharing that story with us. Tony, it's an emotional moment for this community, but one where they're deciding to take their power back. And it may not look like it is in line with the law, but you can hear from some of those community leaders that this is difficult, that they have to do this. But of course they are asking that they work with the police. And this is what we have seen throughout this day. We've seen some of the police coming in, some leaving, but some coming back in. The community has now gone that way with some of those police, but we will of course catch up with them a little later on. We now know that the minister will be here at 10 o'clock tomorrow, as the mayor has confirmed.
Nqobile, thank you so much. Some really difficult reporting there on the ground in West Village. It's just horrendous listening to that. And as you speaking to the mayor, as always, authorities come after the fact. Very unfortunate. Nqobile Madlala for us there in West Village in the West Rand. Let's now turn to our other reporter, one of our top stories as well.